Good morning. When we speak of complete freedom, what we're speaking of is complete, absolute mental and physical freedom. And that is completely available to everyone within one's own experience, whatever that is. There's nothing about one's experience that needs to change in order to conclusively realize that freedom. As long as we persist in any way thinking that there's something that needs to change within our experience in order to conclusively realize that freedom, then we'll never realize that freedom. If we continually try to shift from one thought to other thoughts that are going to be better or less painful, or emotions that are less painful or better, try to seek circumstances that are going to change the thoughts and emotions, or exchange one experience for another, then we'll spend our whole life running from one perception to another, from thought to thought, emotion to emotion, and experience to experience, trying to rearrange those perceptions to make them into a better skill set of perceptions. Does everyone understand what I'm saying? Now, what happens when we experience complete mental and physical freedom that is absolute in nature is that we attain something that's already present. And what we attain is complete mastery over all phenomena. Now, the words phenomena, perception, and points of view are all synonymous. In order to attain that complete mastery over all phenomena, all that is required is to refine our perception. That's it. All human living is perceiving. That's it. Have you ever seen a pupil dilate? It goes from very small to very open, or from very open to very small. Well, the refinement of perception can be illustrated by what happens to that pupil. When the pupil is very small, it's like being closed in, locked in, having perception locked in on specific incidents or points of view within complete perceptual openness. So it's taking complete perceptual openness, which is already present, and locking it in on one point or several points within that perception. And the refinement of perception, refining perception, is simply to relax those fixed reference points within perception. Is that understood? So the refining of perception is simply the relaxing of perception into already available, accessible, and ever-present complete perceptual openness. So when I repeatedly suggest rest repeatedly for short moments many times until it becomes automatic, that is all that I'm suggesting. Allow that refining of perception to take place. Now, the languages of the world today are very, very limited in that contemporary languages other than Tibetan Buddhism or Tibetan. Tibetan is the only contemporary language that has kept alive non-doer speech. So that's the only language today that has non-doer speech. There are ancient languages. The most noted of those is Sanskrit, that is based entirely on non-doer speech. Tibetan is another language that is based entirely on non-doer speech. So many of the things that we read about from other languages, like Sanskrit and Tibetan, that we try to interpret through dualist languages or frameworks, we completely misinterpret. So we hear a word like Buddha, and we think that to achieve Buddhahood means that we have to get somewhere. So we interpret it through dualist language, and we say, well, that means that somebody achieved this great state of complete mastery over all phenomena. And in order to do that, it required that they change from one thing into another. That this Buddha person had to change all their thoughts and emotions and experiences from non-Buddha thoughts, emotions, and experiences into Buddha thoughts, emotions, and experiences. But that isn't what happens, and that isn't what the word Buddha means in non-doer language, such as Sanskrit or Tibetan. The Sanskrit word Buddha has two roots that are combined together into one word. And in Tibetan, that word is called Sangyang. That is the label that is applied to it. And what this word means is the simultaneous exhaustion of faults and perfection of qualities. So these two are not things that are separated into a doer who's going to a destination called Buddhahood, but within the context of one's own experience in the refining of perception, the underlying and already present Buddha qualities, enlightened qualities, wisdom qualities, meta qualities of being human are refined and realized. See, they're already present. Complete control over all phenomena is already present, and it's already present within one's own experience. So when we relax our tight hold on any kind of description, say anger, and an elaboration of just that particular example, anger, into something in particular, when we elaborate that, then we get lost in the pinpointed field of perception that is trying to look at anger through a dualist framework and attribute causes to the result of anger. When we completely relax perception and the need to elaborate all the descriptions about the experience of anger, what happens is we find that the anger resolves in and of itself. What happens is it dissolves into its own ground of complete perceptual openness. That's all the refining of perception is. But if we wrestle that anger to the ground and try to analyze it and attribute causes to it, then we aren't refining our perception. It's as simple as that. So this is why, and I hope that everyone understands this, and if you don't, please ask a question. This is why it is of paramount importance not to try to change your thoughts, emotions, or experiences in any way if your goal is to refine perception. Because whatever your perceptions are, the circumstantial perceptions of your own life, that's all you have to work with. That's it. It all occurs only within those own perceptions. And each one of those perceptions is a wish-fulfilling jewel. So you can make a whole world out of it. You can make a whole dualist world of pain and suffering and psychology and philosophy and good and evil and bad guy and good guy, or bad girl and good girl. You can, bad country and good country. You can do whatever you want with it. It's a wish-fulfilling jewel. But in order to realize the treasury of that wish-fulfilling jewel, the treasury in which that wish-fulfilling jewel is contained, then it requires completely relaxing into the basic space of perceptual openness. The basic space of phenomena is that totally relaxed, perceptually open ground of all experience, and thus no experience whatsoever needs to change. If you insist with yourself that experience needs to change in order to refine perception, it'll just make the road a lot longer. And it's very likely that the destination that's been set out for will never be arrived at. So just relax. No matter what appears, and no matter what kind of a compulsive, obsessive force you might feel within yourself to describe it or seek something in it, don't. There isn't anything there. All to be found of any value whatsoever is the completely open space of the ground of that perception. There's nothing else to be found there that's of any value, meaning, or significance. The greatest wisdom that has ever been within humankind is in this ground of complete perceptual openness. So I hope I've cleared that up.